Chapter 7 of SKYLARK by Patricia McLachlan. We sat on the porch, out of the terrible sun, Maggie fanning herself, Sarah mixing batter for biscuits. Rose and Violet rolled a ball in the dirt to Tom. Caleb sat, watching the sky for clouds. "This heat," said Maggie wearily. "I dream of my old house sometimes. And I dream of long, cool mornings of sleep without the baby waking." Sarah smiled. "Night dreams or daydreams?" she asked. "What's a daydream?" asked Caleb. Sarah sat back and looked at Tom crawling happily in the dirt. "Sometimes, no matter where you are, you think of something sweet and cool. A place, maybe. And suddenly it's there. Or maybe it's something you wish for. And it's so near you can touch it, smell it, hear the sound of it." Sarah looked up suddenly as if caught in her thoughts. "She's dreaming about Maine," Caleb whispered to me. "No, it's not Maine," I thought. "It's not Maine she's thinking about. It's something else." Tom grabbed the ball and held it over his head. Sarah smiled. "I have dreams, Sarah," Caleb said. "Good dreams, Caleb?" she asked. "I dream about rain," said Caleb. "Do you? Do you dream about rain?" Sarah reached over and took Caleb on her lap. "Then it will come." But rain was only in our dreams. The winds came every day, blowing dust through the windows and into the house until it covered the furniture and got into the food and our clothes and our hair. The land got even drier, and we stopped taking baths. Every day we hauled river water for the animals in big wooden barrels. And then the worst thing happened. We drove to the river in our wagon, empty barrels in the back. Clouds hung high in the sky. Maggie sat in her wagon by the riverbed. Matthew stood on the bluff over the river looking down. "Hello, Maggie," called Sarah. But Maggie didn't speak. She didn't even look at us. We got down from the wagon. The river was nearly dry, only a small trickle in the red prairie dirt. Everyone was quiet. "What will we do?" whispered Sarah. "We'll have to travel farther for water," said Papa. "Think about it, Jacob," said Matthew. "It will be a 3-day trip, maybe 4. Then we get back home. Then what? Water for crops? There are no crops." Papa looked at Matthew and then away over the land. Matthew sighed. "Maggie and I have been talking about another way," he said. "What?" asked Sarah. "I think what Matthew means is that they're thinking about leaving," said Papa softly. Sarah turned and looked up at Maggie in the wagon. "Leaving?" Her voice rough and dry like the fields. Maggie climbed down and went behind the wagon. Sarah followed her. I walked closer and stood out of sight and saw Maggie put out her hand to touch Sarah. But Maggie took a step away, as if the comfort was too hard, and I heard words I wish I'd never heard. "I hate this land," said Sarah. "I don't have the way to love it like Matthew and Jacob love it. They give it everything, and it gives nothing back." "They don't know anywhere else, Sarah," said Maggie. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't close out Sarah's words. "Jacob once said his name was written in the land, but mine isn't." "It isn't," said Sarah angrily. "You are like the prairie lark, you know," said Maggie. "It sings its song above the land to let all the birds know it's there before it plunges down to the earth to make its home. But you have not come to earth, Sarah." And then there was silence again, and I opened my eyes. "You don't have to love this land," said Maggie, "but if you don't love it, you won't survive. Jacob's right. You have to write your name in the land to live here." Sarah didn't speak. She took a handful of dry prairie grass in her hands, letting it crumble through her fingers. Then she walked away from us through the dried grass out onto the brown prairie that stretched all the way to the sky. She stood there all alone until Papa went to tell her it was time to go home. We hung wildflowers from the ceiling to dry them for winter, I remember. Sarah cut our hair, tossing it into the fields so the birds could use it for nests. And we sang. When Sarah reads books with us, even her words was like a song. So it sounds like Sarah is really having a rough time living out on the prairie with her new family. How hard do you think it would be to live in that kind of a land? Think about it. We'll be checking back.